Folks, my new book, Not Sick of Winning, A History of President Trump's First 100 Days, is available now. Just head over to notsickofwinning.com to buy it on Amazon. Good afternoon, Michael Malice here. Let that be your welcome for the next hour. We have with us a guest who needs no introduction, someone who I'm honored to be able to talk to for an hour, Dr. Drew Pinsky, man of stage and screen. One of the things I've learned in my long career, Dr. Drew, is when you talk to someone who knows what they're talking about, to shut up and let them speak as much as possible. To remind people you are a real doctor, not just a Jill Biden doctor. And I'm going to have a broad question because I really want to hear you just.
And then you're going to shut up because you don't have much to say after that. It's just going to be all me. Fantastic.
Correct.
This is going to be good.
That's correct. So this is why this is going to be a long setup, because it's something I've been ruminating a lot recently, and this is something you have a lot of expertise about. So that's why I want to pick your brain. Right. So when Ayn Rand was starting her career, she was much more focused on politics. And then later she started turning, well, if I want to understand politics, I need to understand ethics, what's right and wrong, why people make those choices. And then she, towards the end, started focusing on epistemology, how people know what they know. Mm-hmm. And in recent months or years, I've been of the mindset, it's becoming increasingly obvious, that human beings are very bad at cognition. We're taught in school, everyone learns the same thing at the same rate, which if you sat down to design a system from scratch, makes absolutely no sense. Mm-hmm. If you're better at, taking apart an engine, I'm better at math. Why are we learning both things at the same rate? And it creates this idea of universalism, that human brains are all basically the same. Mm. And as you get older, if you're noticing, right, you see that's not the case at all. That a lot of times, I'll give a very example that's going to trigger half the audience. There are people who will tell you with a straight face right now that Trump was praising white nationalists at Charlottesville because he did literally use the phrase, "They're very fine people on both sides." And the next words out of his mouth were, and I don't mean the white nationalists who must be condemned totally, he said, regarding the statue debate, there's good people on taking down statues, fine people on keeping the statues up. And you can show them the tape and they won't perceive it, right? Hillary with Benghazi, she says, what difference at this point does it make? People are dead. Meaning, we can sit here till we're blue in the face. We're not bringing these people back. It's a tragedy and it's awful. But like, what are you trying to prove here? And yet, oh no, Hillary Clinton, this politician, is going on TV and saying, "I don't care that these people died," is what they perceive. And you can play the tape, and Rogan with the ivermectin and things like that. And as a result of this, I'm wondering if democracy, which I'm not a fan of in general, is really going to lead us toward a Brave New World situation, where if I understand the algorithms and if I understand how to manipulate what people perceive, I don't have to win any arguments in this kind of enlightenment model. I can just kind of manipulate this us versus them situation and get people riled up and get them into my kind of team. And then I kind of won. So there's a lot of points you could pick up there, but that's where I've been in recent years. And since you have a shrink background, I'm sure you have a lot to say on this topic.
Yeah, let me talk about my background first, which is I'm an internist. So I was going to be a cardiologist, but I got sidetracked, moonlighting in a psychiatric hospital, ended up taking over their medical services, and then ultimately taking over their addiction services and becoming an addictionologist and doing that work for 20 years, which is the crossroads of medicine, psychiatry, neurobiology, psychology, everything, family systems, all there. So I got exposed to all that stuff. I wouldn't call me an expert or certainly not a shrink. But I do know, but always been fascinated by the human mind, the human experience, human anthropology. It's really how I found Jordan Peterson. I was always trying to bring together anthropology and psychology. I felt like that needed to happen. And he got close. He's sort of swimming in those waters all the time. So let's start with the last thing first, which is, if you could manipulate the algorithm, could you manipulate human beings? End of story. I'm of two minds. One is, I believe the human is far more resilient than we give the human experience credit for. I have faith and optimism that we'll find our way through. However, we will have times like that, and God knows we just went through one.
Yeah.
The Brownstone Institute just published an article. I'm going to tell you what it was called. It was called the preference falsification and cascade. In other words, the social pressures were such that people were literally falsifying not just their preferences, but their actual perception of reality. At least they claimed so. And it is. I was talking to Adam Kroll about this a couple of days ago. I just sent him this article, and he was like, "Wow, hats off to you! You got everybody to say that a man is not a man. That there's no such thing as XY chromosomes. You got that from clergy and scientists and news. Everybody, you got them to say it. That's incredible." And so it made me laugh because I thought, well, putting that kind of positive spin on it is one thing, but it also terrifies me, right? And the 20th century, as you know well, is laden with episodes of this. I had naively thought the behavior of crowds was something of the past. Man, was I wrong. Thank you for laughing at that.
Well, let me just say quickly, why I'm laughing is because there was a window after the Industrial Revolution before World War I where they thought, now that we have machines in industry, we're not going to have wars anymore. They really thought this. And then World War I happens. Everyone's like, no, now the machines used to kill people. It's much, much worse than what happened before.
The scariest things, words ever spoken, other than "I'm from the government, I'm here to help you," is this time it's different, or this now we understand. Now we understand. Now we actually understand. Yeah, guys, just refer back to and most religious scripture. That's when we understood. And it just goes through iterations of that ever since.
Yeah, that's right.
So can we be manipulated? Sure. We just went through it. Is that it? A fait accompli? That's it? No, I don't think so. And I think because, okay, I'm going to start waving my hands around a little bit. Because we are not a purely cognitive instrument, our cognitive processes are laden with difficulties. They all have names, whether it's cognitive dissonance or confirmation bias, or there are a million biases, anchoring biases. All these things are all cognitive distortions. But in addition to our cognitive system, we have a biological system embedded in our body. And the brain, this is something people don't talk about, which is I call embeddedness, okay? The brain is embedded in a body, and that body has an autonomic nervous system and a hormonal system, and is way older than everything else in our cognitive system, and it informs us. It's there. It's always feeding information. Now, we ignore it a lot of the time, but it has a way of bleeding through. Reality, as you see in all these historical antecedents, reality has a way of getting back. Reality has a way of coming through. You're shaking your head because these authoritarian things get in place and make it hard for it to come back.
No, this is why I'm shaking my head. I'm shaking my head because that's people do not. It's a problem of that body-mind thing is that people perceive what is on their screens as the same thing as out their window. And it's kind of hacking that body-mind thing where we act like what we're looking. It's as if the person's right in front of us, and that's not the case.
I'll keep going. I agree. I don't disagree with that.
Okay.
And we may arrive at the same place. I don't know exactly where I'm going yet. But when it comes to the cognitive biases, I think people are aware of the Ash line experiment, where where you go, this one subject goes into a room with a bunch of Confederates, and they put 3 lines on the board. One's clearly shorter than the rest. And the professor goes around the room, goes, which the shortest? They pick the longest. And the guy who is the actual subject eventually goes along with the group. Rather, usually quite easily goes along with the group. But a significant percentage of those people will say afterwards, I don't know, I just wanted to get along to go along. I knew it wasn't short. And so we kind of know more than we socially sort of cooperate with. So there's that. Now you're getting to the bodily based instrument, right? Which is primitive and can be played, right? Yeah. It can be played. Pornography plays it. AI is going to play it. Chat rooms, everything plays it. It's a very primitive system, but it's highly connected to survival and reality. So it will eventually have. Now, could we ever get to the point where we are just ruled by these things? We're just the rats pushing the lever? let's look at where we are now. What is it? Something like 60% of young males are having difficulty in the workplace because of video games and porn.
Is
That's
that
what
right?
the new data shows. Yeah, something crazy
60?
like that. It's some insane number like that. Look it up. I don't know what the exact number was, but it was a number that made me shudder. And then I thought, well, of course, they're completely captured by this thing, but they're miserable, they're unhappy, they're looking for
Yeah, of
change. They
course.
will seek something to pull them out of it. It's why we have recovery programs. And by the way, while on one hand, like you said, looking through the window of this screen, which I'm doing right now with you, we're having a very nice conversation. Also, obviously, can capture us with pornography and OnlyFans and all this other stuff. But so can recovery, right? Recovery is now being done through Zoom meetings, and they're very, very, very effective. So we have stuff, we have antidotes pouring in at the same time as we're having the poison, right? So the real sort of issue to me, wow, I'm about to say something. I'm going to try to say it in a way that's nice. We can't be dumb. We cannot be dumb. We are fighting fierce forces here, and we cannot be dumb. Even if we're dumb, like let's remember the IQ is set at 100. Half are below and half are above. And by definition, the half that are below are not as smart as the half is above. It's just the way it is. They can still be smart with all this. You say no? Okay, tell me that. No. Why not? Why not?
I think.
Tell me.
I'm going to tell you. Calm down.
Tell me. I insist.
I think you, and I could be wrong. I think most people underestimate how stupid a 100 IQ is. Because I think our idea, not your idea, because I know you're different, but for many people, their idea of stupid is like Joey on Friends or a stupid character in a sitcom.
No. I understand.
But let me explain to the audience, though. I think stupid people think in fundamentally different ways than intelligent people.
Can I stop you for a second?
Go ahead, please.
Do you know that 30% of people do not have an internal monologue?
Right.
That is, when I found that out, I was blown away.
And
there's
Scott
no thinking going on. 30% of people.
Scott Adams made the point that was it like 30% or 40, some huge number can't perceive humor.
Oh yeah. That's another thing. That's a little different thing, though.
Sure, but it speaks to the idea that the human mind is not like a dial that a dumber person, if you just talk slower and give them more time, they're going to get to where you are. They will never be able to understand certain things. And I don't mean like calculus. Yeah. I mean just simple cause and effect and iteration.
Yes. And I don't disagree with what you're saying. However, I disagree with your conclusion.
Okay.
And because, first of all, we're putting a lot of weight on IQ, and let's parse that out even a little bit further and just say there are innate differences in intellect. There are.
Sure.
Period. End of story. We have left behind, and this really bothers me, a lot of people that could be operating on a smart level by dumbing down all the education. I mean, this was the Founding Fathers' great preoccupation. How do we give the vote to somebody that, how do we select the people that should be responsible for a democratic system or a democratic republic? And we are ill-serving people. When I was in school, I had a lazy brain. I thank God got the right training, and it just was an enlightenment for me. But I had to work my effing ass off. And I don't even think the teachers know what that is anymore. They just are not in this country in any event. Now, to be fair, there's different kinds of intelligence, and we do need to the crafts. What do you call them? The mechanics and the carpenter. I mean, that's a certain kind of intelligence.
Yes,
I do not have. If you took me you took me into a car mechanics, slot, or you take me out to a work site, a construction site, I am dumb. Right? I'm dumb. So there's all kinds of pragmatic smartness that people can have that doesn't translate and that most people can grapple with, that gets them towards a sense of reality that is pragmatic and accurate. We have let go of all of that. We have let go of the pragmatic sense of reality. So people are sort of educated in these abstract things that are not connected to reality, so they think that's real, or they're allowed to fall away and not be encouraged to be their best version of themselves. And that's very, 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 very concerning. Very concerning.
So you guys know that I wear sheath underwear every single day. I am a sheath underwear model. It's a brand that I love and is near and dear to my heart. And they sent me talking points, and I'm going to read them verbatim just so you see how they understand me. This is literally what it says. I am happy talk about a favorite advertiser on the You're Welcome with Mike Malice. I am talking about sheath underwear. Look, they don't need to send me talking points because this is a product that is near and dear to my genitals every minute of the day, even in the shower. What makes sheath underwear unique is this dual pouch technology. It keeps you cool in the summer, keeps you snug in the winter. There's one pouch for one part of your male anatomy, another pouch for another part of your male anatomy. You try it on the first time, you're like, what is this? And then years later, you're wearing it all the time and designing underwear for the company as well, because that's how much I love sheath underwear. Lots of people are like, is this stuff really that good? Like my friends. And I go, just try it. And they try it. They're like, oh, okay. You really know what you're talking about. It's like, yeah, when it comes to underwear, there's like 5 things I know what I'm talking about. This is one of them. If you thought about buying sheath before, let this be your welcome to buy a pair. I promise you, you will enjoy it. They also have shirts. They've got hoodies. They use materials like bamboo and mesh for even more cooling comfort. We need that here in Austin. It gets pretty muggy. It's the sweatiest city in America, apparently, even though we're not full of big fat fatties. Anyway, here's what I want you to do. Go to sheathunderwear.com and use promo code Malice, and you get 20% off today. Oh, they very helpfully spelled it out for me. Malice is the promo code for 20% off. And then you will be saying, I am happy talk about a favorite advertiser on the You're Welcome with Mike Malice. I am talking about Sheath underwear. Thank you, Sheath, for sponsoring the show for so long and keeping my junk nice and tight. Let's get back to the show. I wanted to pick your brain about something else, which is obviously when you're with your work, you're dealing with people who have mental illnesses or mental conditions.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering how you can empathize with them in a literal sense, meaning how can you, in your brain, approximate how they work? Because at the end of the day, if someone is, for example, a lot of times these mental illnesses can be perfectly logical and coherent. If I had a friend who thinks he's Abraham Lincoln and I ask him, where's your stovepipe hat? He would say, it's 2025. Why would I have that stovepipe hat? He would have an answer. It wouldn't challenge his assumption. But when you're dealing with someone who's like borderline or NPD or things like that, their framework is not real, but also alien to your thinking. How can you communicate with them effectively, or any of us, who maybe not in a clinical setting, but in a day-to-day setting?
You're pointing at personality disorders. So we'll go back to that in a second. But
okay,
if somebody comes in and they're wildly psychotic, I just need to treat them humanely and kindly and get them on medication. I don't need to understand what it is to be seeing things. No more than I have to treat somebody. I have to have cancer to treat somebody with cancer.
That's
it's a ridiculous notion. When somebody comes in with addiction, their brain is broken. It's under the influence of a distorted motivation. And I can see all of the other wonderful systems in the brain operating to serve that false god of get me drugs, get me drugs, get me drugs. They don't see it. They don't, it's outside of consciousness. It's just a motivational system that's there. And it's causing them to think, feel, act in ways that are just bizarre or broken. I can empathize with that. And I have learned dealing with addicts that because they're lying constantly and whatever is being presented to me may or may not be real, I've learned to trust whatever comes out of my mouth. And my favorite story, can I use the F word here?
Yes, you mean for homosexuals? You can call me that if you like. It's okay. I'm not, but you can call me that.
Okay, well, whatever you say. By the way, I'm just laughing at you. I think you made that joke or something when we were on Gutfeld together, and I'm still dying at when you called Tyrus Shrek. That was a legendary moment. I want you to know.
Do you know why I was? So people don't know. I've been on Gutfeld. I was on Gutfeld Dr. Drew not that long ago. So Tyrus has a bad reputation online, and I'm going to defend him because when you're in that room, it's very clear he's doing a shtick and playing to the crowd, and it doesn't always read on TV, so it comes off as a little bit off-putting. And once you're there, you realize, okay, he's WWF. It totally works. It's totally in character.
Yeah, he's doing a thing.
Yeah, he doesn't really interact with the other guests. Like Greg comes to him, he does his bit, and then they move on to Kat or whoever. And I'm like, I'm gonna get through this guy. So the fact that I got him to like see me and acknowledge me and give me a fist bump, I got that. That was something
I don't know. I don't know if the audience saw what he did too, because I was watching you guys and he was like,
yeah,
he was like, yep,
we got a fist bump in here.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think he was especially open to it because, you know, he's on a diet now. He's lost 150 pounds and he's proud of what's happening. That a couple years ago might not have landed the same way.
That's fair.
So, all right. What was I talking about? What were we talking about?
You were talking about if you could use the F word.
Oh yeah. So I'm back to this bodily based information. I have to rely on what my body tells me as an antenna around these patients, because I have to listen to what they're telling me and I have to respond to it. And sort of, this one kid was the kid I treated several times, and heroin addict, and he came in a couple times after nearly dying, and this time he really almost did it, and he was sitting in front of me sobbing, I'm going to die of this disease, I know it, my friend just died, he just lost a friend, and this is so painful, and he was in pain. I could empathize and feel his pain, and yet what came out of my mouth, I couldn't believe it. What came out of my mouth was, you are so full of shit, I don't even know what to do with you anymore. And he stopped. He just stopped crying and looked at me, and I thought, "Oh my God, this kid's going to swing at me." I don't know where that came from. And he looked at me and he goes, "I know. I don't even know when I'm full of shit. This is bullshit. This is even bullshit. Everything's bullshit with me." And I go, "Yeah, that's why you're here, and I understand." And that moment of connection that even he couldn't stop his lying and nonsense, but I could see through it, created a moment of trust and attunement that we could start to work together in a better way, a more productive way. And so that kind of thing is very informative. That's deep empathy, right? You feel things and you smell things and you hear things. I mean, I actually hear music and stuff when I'm in there, and I'm like, what the hell is that? That's not me. That is something the patient is delivering to me, to my body. Okay. Your question about the personality disorders is more challenging. Because they see everything as out there. It's not in here. And I'll tell you a story I just heard on a podcast, or sort of a series about treating these conditions. And the psychiatrist said, he told this story about how this narcissist, the guy with an NPD, narcissistic personality disorder, was sitting there telling him this horrific story of abuse when he was a kid. And the psychiatrist said he started crying. And because it was so touching and painful, and the narcissist reaction to him was, "Why are you mocking me?" and to become enraged. So this shows you the distortion of what they expect from the outside world. So you have to be able to really hold the line with reality. And in my world, I can't do it alone. I need it like a show of force. It has to kind of contain it, because they'll come at you from every which way.
Yeah,
I'm too weak. I get blown through by these guys, and I don't do as good a job with them as I could. And so I always bring reinforcements in. I do well with the borderlines, but I still need manpower, because they'll wear you down. They come at you and at you and at you and at you, and their sort of thing is, help me if you can. And they'll continue to throw things at you that make it more and more and more impossible to not go, "Will you shut up?" or something, And then once they get you there, they go, "See, you're like all the other shitheads out there." So
right. For people who don't know, they do something called splitting, where like one day you're their best friend, and the second something happens, it's a switch.
And doesn't even have to happen.
Oh, yeah,
you
right.
Just go from all good to all bad. And again, that's why when you have a unified front, that everyone whom they try to split, like I had great nursing and counseling staff, and if I went into a split with a patient, they would go to the nurse and go, "Dr. Pinsky told me I'm an asshole," or something that I would never say, and she goes, "No, I don't think that's what happened." I know, as opposed to, "Oh my God, are you okay?" This is how you harm people with personality disorders, by reinforcing their bullshit, their safe places, all that is, they need containment, and then they need to build resiliency and reality testing. That's what they need. Not everybody, and by the way, if you have a true personality disorder, it's more than just that. But there are so many people in this country right now with the traits of these conditions,
Yes.
and we are going in the wrong direction with them. We are making them sicker. And safe places, Adam keeps saying it's going to be safe places and octagons. And I called him a couple days ago. I go, Adam, he's been saying that for like 10 years. He goes, you said the same thing. You said things are going to split apart. But his way of saying that same thing was safe spaces and octagons. And I called him. I said, President of the United States is going to put an octagon in the Rose Garden, Adam. They're literally safe spaces and octagons now, literally in Washington. That's so crazy. But you seem to want to say something.
No, I recently had this epiphany, and this is something I'm confident you can address at length. Because
be careful. Don't have too much confidence in me.
I would bet a significant amount of money that you'll be able to talk about this at length. I had the epiphany that the typical person doesn't run a true false filter, but an us-them filter. And that when they're processing political information, the first question isn't, is this true or not? It's like, is this our people or their people? They're terrible and stupid and, always and incompetent and somehow evilly brilliant. And
but Michael,
we're all the good guys. Yeah.
That is something new and old, but it's something new of the last 50 years.
Right.
This is and tribalism, which what you're talking about is one of our most primitive instincts.
Yes.
Primitive. It's us at our worst. And when people have, for 75 years, they've been trying to figure out how to deal with that. And racism is in there with tribalism.
Of course.
And the key way of addressing it, there was a famous book in the 50s just called Contact. The way of addressing is contact, be with people, be amongst people, share and exchange ideas with them, and don't make assumptions. Just be open, like we always were. I really bonded with Bill Maher about this the other day. He and I like found this common ground where we were both going, we were in these big fancy schools in the 70s and in New England, and he was at Cornell and stuff. And our absolute preoccupation was the pursuit of an approximation of the truth. We knew we could never know the whole truth, but our job was to gain access as close as we could get at all times, which required careful analytic thought. And that is gone. Yes. And that is very, very dangerous. That's one of the scariest aspects of what's happening. But I feel like there's there's a kind of what Mark Andreessen called a cascade happening, a sort of a cascading of reality coming in. And that's what often happens. Happened in Germany. It happened in France in 1794. It happens.
Well, I don't know what you mean in this context. I think we're talking to each other less and less. I think media is more designed to speak to people from their own tribe. And I think you saw on COVID, you and I discussed this last time you were here. It went back to 2019, I don't think either of us would predicted that COVID levels of snitching and glee with turning in one's neighbor that Americans evinced.
And really the wondrous part of that is those are the people that claim the mantle of good.
Oh yes.
And they were the ones that would say, if I were around in 1935, I would have killed Hitler.
Oh yeah.
No, you would not. You would have been the effing prison guards. That's what you did. Do you know who Mark Chankisi is?
No, I don't.
Oh my God, you should interview him. He's a brilliant dude. He can get into this far more than me. He is a cognitive psychologist and he's also a physicist. And he's always making the point that these mass formations and these totalitarian sort of moments are not, we imagine them to be a cabal of, of something organized that's top down. There is some top down always, but it's really bottom up.
Yes.
It's that we cooperated with it. And then these assholes were reporting their neighbors and yelling at people who didn't wear their masks inside. And just, it literally is now, if you think about the craziness of it, it's the same thing as if they told us to jump up and down on one foot and run in a circle and being yelled at for not doing that. It's the exact same thing. There's nothing more that was being accomplished by 6 feet distancing. It was nothing.
I'm going to read the C.S. Lewis quote, which I love, which was the introductory quote to one of the chapters of my book, The New Right, where he pointed out, of all tyrannies, a tyranny sincerely exercised for the good of its victims may be the most oppressive. It would be better to live under robber barons than under omnipotent moral busybodies. The robber baron's cruelty may sometimes sleep, his cupidity may at some point be satiated, but those who torment us for their own good will torment us without end, for they do so with the approval of their own conscience.
This is something that Mark Shankisi taught me, which is that social ill is always done in the name of good.
Right.
Jacobins, Nazis, you name it, Bolsheviks, Mensheviks, all the virtue signaling the whole way. I am superior to you because I know what's right. It is the ultimate narcissistic signal. I'm not only, hey, look at me, but I'm superior to you because I care.
Do you know how Mencken put it? The urge from the 1920s, the urge to save humanity is almost always only a false face for the urge to rule it.
There you go. Send that to me. I want to put it over my head.
But the point, go ahead, please.
H.L. Mencken was a physician too, right? Wasn't he?
No.
Sure?
I'm sure. I'm looking at his autograph over my head right now.
Okay. Who am I thinking of?
In fact, hold on.
How am I confusing that so badly?
Here's an autograph of his too, right? Here's the second one I got.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
I love that my house is like this insane museum where I can just pick up Mencken's autograph on the floor.
H.L. Mencken, American essayist, blah, blah, blah. Why did I think he was
because he's from Baltimore, I think of John Hop. I don't know who you're thinking
of. I don't know. Weird. There's another one, a playwright that was a physician with a name like Mencken. I think that's what it was. Help me. Somebody. Too bad we're not in the chat room. All right. I'm sure I could ask Rock. It'll tell me. It
starts off with one missed bill, then another. Now it's calls you ignore, envelopes you don't open, pressure that doesn't let up. Debt doesn't knock, it kicks down the door. And PDS Debt helps you fight back. They've helped hundreds of thousands of people break free, and this is your shot. So take it before debt takes everything. PDS Debt goes beyond the numbers to understand your unique financial situation and craft a personalized plan designed just for you. There's no minimum credit score required, and PDS Debt is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. They boast thousands of 5-star reviews on Google. They hold a 5-star rating on Trustpilot. And why? Because PDS has helped hundreds of thousands of people get out of debt. I've been in debt in the past. I hated it. You can't ever not think about it. So if this sounds like you, reach out to them, and here's how. You're 30 seconds away from being debt-free. Get your free assessment and find the best option for you right now at pdsdebt.com/welcome. That's pdsdebt.com/welcome. pdsdebt.com/welcome. Let's get back to the show.
So how do you feel about AI and stuff? Are you worried about it?
I am extremely worried about it. And
what does your robot friend Lex feel about it?
He loves it. That's his answer to everything.
Because it's his operating system.
I love it. Here's why I'm extremely concerned about AI. We are at a point right now where AI is better at recognizing humor and is a better conversationalist than the average person. I am there's this kind of libertarian argument that once AI takes certain job, that frees up human labor for other things.
Right.
And that might be true, or we might be becoming like the horse. Because something I was very concerned about that's happening right now is in San Francisco already, Waymo, which is automated cars, has overtaken Lyft to be number 2.
Yeah.
So yes, in a sense, all those if Waymo becomes number 1 or Waymo seizes the market, yes, you can have all those Lyft and Uber drivers can do other things, but that 50-year-old woman who's driving Uber on weekends to make some pocket money, she's not going to work in a factory. She's not going to be, what are you going to do with her? And it is very scary because if you can be the cashier, and if you can have the avatar that's a more personable and friendly and sexy or whatever you want to fine tune it, what use happens with not just average people, with journalists, with lawyers, with artists? I think it's kind of naive to say, well, we'll find something to them, because at a certain point you can outsource that manual labor as well. We can't. It's going to be very hard to compete with someone who works for pennies on the dollar if they're just putting things together, as we've seen with the Chinese market, so on and so forth. So
What does Musk say about all this? Do you know what his opinion is?
He's very pro AI, of course.
No, but I mean, when you raise an issue like this, I think he just thinks we'll adjust.
I haven't. Yeah, I haven't spoken to him about it. I've never talked to him really directly.
Have you read his biography?
I have not.
It's worth a read. The Isaacson biography is worth a read. At least the first 150 pages.
I should point out that I'm close friends with Ashley St. Clair, and I did just see her when I was in New York a couple of days ago. So I have a different perspective on Elon than I think the layman does. Are you not?
Are you calling me a layman?
No, I'm talking to the audience. There's other people listening to this, Drew. I have an audience.
Oh, I thought it was just you and me on the phone. Weird. So are you going to share any of your non-layman perspective?
Well, yeah, I think he is a little, he's high on the spectrum, obviously extremely functional. And I think people who are high on the spectrum tend to lose a bit of how humanity works. And they tend to be too much of numbers people. And this idea that like the things just figure themselves out, which I'm not saying is his perspective, but is a common perspective. You know, they said this when they invented the cotton gin. They said this when they invented the automobile.
Right.
True, but when the automobile came out, those horses sure were a lot less functional.
Yeah.
So that is my big concern with AI.
I guess you could twist it around and go, her horse is better off now than they were then. Maybe
there's certainly fewer of them. That's an issue, right? And the other thing is these bots on Twitter.
You got to be careful with the number argument, because then you'd argue that cows are better off and they're a synergistic relationship with us, or they're you know. But anyway, you know, the thing about that biography that got through to me was his relentlessness. His hypomania and relentlessness was just phenomenal. And I for one am glad he's there. You know what I mean? I mean, you know, whether or not everything he creates has only good effect, I'm glad he's there. I think humans are so resilient. It's funny. I just did this culture war thing with Tim Pool last week, and we had a couple psychologists in there with me. And we were really talking about the capture of psychology by wokeism and things, and how people aren't being trained on the basics of psychology anymore. And the whole your unhappiness is now the fact that you were the object of some colonialized system, and therefore it's all out here, which is the worst way to encourage people into mental health. It just does the opposite. Anyway, we all kind of said the same thing. Like he was raising these very issues, and he had a very dystopian sort of idea of things. And I was like, we deal with the human being regularly, and I have sort of infinite optimism about human resiliency. I just not that things can't go bad for a long time. They can, they will, but ultimately, I can't even tell you how it's going to go. I don't know. You're right to be afraid, and you're right to have your opinion. Your opinion is not wrong, and it'll probably be proven to be right in the short term.
But I mean, I'll just give another example. There was the bots on Twitter used to be, and this is again just a very specific data point, right? We're like, oh, this trader's great. Follow, you know, at @abrew_fx for stock tips, and on site you know, okay, this is a bot block.
Yeah.
But now the bots, when I would reply to this, would be like, wow. You know, if I say this episode about me and Dr. Drew talk about cognition, wow, at Dr. Drew's really hit the nail on the head when it comes to mental health. You should also look at this account. And it's a bot, and it's entirely, it read context, rewrote it to sound like a contribution in a coherent way, which is not the norm on Twitter, to be fair. It's above average.
I think that's still kindergarten level stuff. How do you know I'm not an AI?
Well, because
will there be an AI bot built off of what we talk about today?
But we have that. We have performers who are like Tupac. You could see him in concert, right?
Yeah.
That's an AI bot.
Yeah. As a friend of mine, a psychiatrist, he goes, he used to say to me, he goes, everyone in the world is crazy except me and thee. But sometimes I worry about thee. so maybe you're the bot, my friend. You have some of the features.
But to your point, just because humans are resilient doesn't mean they're going to be useful.
Well, utility is an interesting term, right? I mean, there's so many ways to be useful to other humans, man. There just really are. sort of infinite. And that's, I guess, where the resiliency comes from. And I see it all the time in people in the helping professions, in the recovery rooms and stuff, just people finding ways to be useful. And even though, then we should worry about the economics, because
That's
those
what I'm
kinds
saying.
of
Right.
things
Yes.
don't always have economic value. And how we
Right.
do all that, I don't know. But I really believe people will find ways to make meaning. And by the way, probably better than we do right now, because we're doing a shitty job of meaning making, and humans got to have meaning. There's got to be purpose and meaning in life.
I'm looking strictly at the economic point of view. Like, again, that woman who ran Lyft, she's a great mom. She'd be a great greeter at Walmart. There's lots of things she could. Maybe she makes little gift cards or something. There's lots of things she could do. There's no question.
Hey, by the way, it's funny.
Like,
you're in Austin now, right?
Yes, sir.
I've had that conversation with Austin Uber drivers and women who've complained about the Waymo and how it's cutting into their work, and they have to wait for hours at the airport to get a ride. And I thought, and I didn't have an answer for her. I just didn't know what to do except give her a big tip,
Yeah.
so it is, they're aware, and so let's see what happens. I mean, I don't know where they go.
Well, so you're just confirming my point.
No, I know, but I'm telling you that she's going to find something. That's my faith, that there'll be something.
Based on what? What's your basis for? If she found something, why is she doing Lyft to begin with?
Well, she didn't look. Well, that's the point. Why? What was going on there? Even why does she have to resort to Lyft? But what did we do before Lyft? And what did people do? There's a lot going on. There's a lot of moving parts here. I'm just saying. Could you go retrain as a carpenter? I don't know. Yeah, God knows there's so much need for that kind of stuff right now.
Yeah, but the way I'm looking at it is, if there's like a board, right, and more of those squares are being filled up with AI.
Yes, I hear you.
There's fewer and
then robots.
Right. There's fewer and fewer places for her or for me or for you to go.
Yeah. Then we'll start podcasting.
But sure, but again, not everyone can be a podcaster.
I'm just saying, we found this as a way of being productive and making meaning and helping people. This wasn't here 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah, but I think podcasting is like a Pareto distribution, right? In terms of paying the rent.
But part of the reason I got to it is I got so badly canceled during COVID.
Okay.
So yeah, but COVID was my robot and AI.
Yeah, but you're not for nothing, but you are Dr. Drew. You have an established brand. People like you. You're very personally very knowledgeable, right? So we see this with Michelle Obama. By the way, they censored me on Gutfeld last week because I said Michelle Obama have one thing in common. It can be summed up in 3 words: big dick energy. And not only did they bleep out dick, they panned away from my face so you couldn't see what I said. But point being, she tried to transition, I said pun intended on the show, to podcasting. It's not going so well for her. But the percent of the population that a podcasting ecosystem can support is very small.
Ultimately, yes. It's highly competitive. It's a big democratic process right now, but it's going to shake out.
Right. So my point is that Lyft lady, I'm very concerned about her.
I am too. I am very concerned. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
Don't assume my optimism is not a naive optimism, and it's not without deep concern for people getting hurt in the meantime. I'm really worried about that.
Okay, let's shift tax to something that you could help a lot of people out with,
maybe
like immediately.
So far, have we helped anybody with anything?
Well, this is not a show for helping, really. This is more of a herdy show.
Fair enough.
How, if someone has a friend or a loved one who is an addict or an alcoholic, I'm sure you have like a sit down, like what you would walk them through. Please help people.
Oh no, it's a lot simpler than that you'd imagine. So I'm going to start first with the answer and then work back.
Okay.
Because it's a little more complicated than I'm going to make it sound. But I deal with this on a daily basis.
Right.
People call me, I want to do something, I want to do something, I want to do something. And in the hospitals, when I was running a big program, it was always the family coming in, I'll do anything, I'll do anything, I'll do anything. I go, okay, you'll do anything, right? Okay, I will do anything. Tell me what to do, doctor. I will do it no matter what. I go, okay, I'm going to tell you something that you're not going to want to do. It's going to sound like lose some weight and start exercising. This is not that kind of recommendation. I'm telling you, if you don't do this, you are contributing to the demise of your loved one. And it is the only thing that will have a measurable effect. And I mean the only thing on what your kid how your kid's doing, how the treatment will play out. Okay, I'll do it. You need to go to Al-Anon and get a sponsor and go to meetings on a daily basis and potentially get a therapist, depending on the situation. And they'll go, okay, but what do I do? I go, I told you. And they almost never do it. And it's when they do it, of course, it has a huge effect. It's because essentially, now working backwards, you ever see The Little Shop of Horrors?
Of course.
The movie or the play. So the Audrey 2 is this plant that eats people, and it starts as a little tiny plant, and as it gets bigger, if you go near the plant, you go in the plant, unless somebody is there pulling you back out. That is a perfect model for alcoholism and addiction. That is how it operates. It operates interpersonally. So when you get near the person with the condition, you're part of it. You're going in the plant, including me as a practitioner. I don't work with these people alone because it's such a cunning, crazy, powerful thing. I have a nurse that sits behind me and kicks my chair when my codependency starts dragging me into the plant. So somebody needs to pull you out. And that's the function of the Al-Anon group, the therapist, the Al-Anon sponsor. Every interaction with the alcoholic addict, in advanced disease we're talking about, of course, in dangerous disease at least, you don't do it alone. Because every good instinct you have, the disease uses the best of people. It uses everything good about you, your parenting instincts, your caring, all that will get subsumed into the condition. And you need somebody reflecting who's been there and understands the disease and is in recovery with you, standing there with you going, don't do that. Nah, there you go. Okay, let's talk about it after you've talked to them. Let's talk about what you guys talked about. And then you will learn to establish these boundaries. And I will tell you what, the addict immediately feels the difference. It's wild to watch because you're dancing with the disease all the time. And then once you have some treatment, you leave the dance floor. You're not in the dance anymore. And the addicts feel that as a threat to their survival because using drugs is synonymous with survival with this disease. It is the survival system that's taken over by the addiction process. And so it works. These things work. And if you will not go to meetings, then get a therapist and let that person work with you. But it's going to be expensive, and it's going to, it's fine. Great. That'll work too. But what I always say about 12-step is it's available 24/7. You can now do it by Zoom, and Zoom works, and it's on every corner, and it's free. It's effing free. Why in the day of the healthcare mess we're in would we, and it's objectively works. It's now been subjected to good analysis. Cochrane studies have been published. It works. And any of us that have worked in the field for long periods of time, I tell people now, Michael, I'm a time traveler. I'm officially a time traveler. I'm old enough now that I come to the present from a bygone era. I've actually traveled forward in time. And a lot of what I bring is having seen terrible ideas come and go over and over and over and over again in particularly mental health care, particularly there. So that is my long answer, but I don't tell people, I don't sit down unless I'm functioning as the therapist for the individual. Which I try not to do. I don't sit there and tell them, give them a list of things to do. I just try to educate them about how the disease works and how it sucks them in. And they resist it. I'm not the sick one here. He's the one with disease. And yes, that's true. If your son didn't have this disease, you would have probably walked through life with some boundary issues and some codependency and been fine. But that's not what we got here. We got a serious situation, and somebody's going to lose their life, which is the other part everybody misses about this disease. It's a life-threatening disease, and it's progressive in all circumstances.
And people also should appreciate with Al-Anon is they won't judge you. So a lot of times people feel duped. My son said this. I'm an idiot. I'm so naive.
Yeah.
They've all heard it. They've all experienced it. They're not going to think anything badly of you. They will laugh with you, and you will feel safe talking about these things for the first time out loud.
Not only that,
your family. Yeah.
Not only that, Michael, but before you get the courage to go and say it, you'll hear it. Yeah, other people will say it before you even say it. Like, oh, I was feeling dumb. I was feeling like an idiot. Oh my God, them too. Oh, it made me feel diminished. It made me feel less than. It made me feel, yes, that's how this thing works. That's how it works.
I remember my friend took me to her 10-year anniversary, I don't remember what year it was, at AA. and I talk about this also in the right. And a guy got up and he goes, I went to the nut house and in jail and I was in the street. I did the whole tour, and everyone laughs because the part of the tour he missed was the cemetery. And you can laugh about these things because I got off right before the last stop, and that's a win.
Well, and not only that, but the one of the things I like about working with addicts is they are funny as hell. They're so funny, and when they recover, they see how funny and crazy their behavior is, and they can laugh at it. It's very important. It's very important for them to do so. It's so funny. I mean, people would. I'd always sort of start with, why you here. What's motivating you. I want to know what brings you to treatment. And this one guy, we had my nurse and I would amuse ourselves with what people would say, but this one kind of stayed with me. He goes, and he sounded convincing too. He was like, I wake up every day. I'm sick and tired of this. I've destroyed my marriage. You don't know how horrible this is. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. So I'm gonna get treatment. I'm gonna do this. And I open up the chart, and there's a picture of him in full chains, for all limbs in chains, brought from the courtroom directly to our facility. I'm like, well, did the judge have anything to do with this? Oh yeah, well yeah, that there, yes. It just shows you how it's called anosognosia, how biological the denial is. It's so profound, and the codes do the same thing. We not maybe it's not as biologically driven because of the effects of the drugs and whatnot, but we don't want to see reality. It's part of our condition.
Hey, it's James Altucher. I've been an entrepreneur, investor, best-selling writer, stand-up comic, and whatever it is I'm interested in, I get obsessed. Yes, it's led to success, but it's also led to such heartbreaking failure. I have failed more times than I can count. I wish in my life I had had people to talk to. That's why I started the James Altucher Show and bring on some of the most brilliant minds in every area of life. People like Richard Branson, Sarah Blakely, Mark Cuban, Danica Patrick, Gary Kasparov, and I wanted to find out exactly how they've navigated the highs, the lows, and everything in between. No fluff, just raw stories and real advice. I've talked to 1,500 of the most amazing people on the planet. So if you want to learn from the best and skip the same old canned interviews, we're all about helping you find your next big idea, level up your thinking, and ultimately to choose yourself. So let's do this together. Subscribe now to The James Altucher Show.
Let's get back to the show. How in your practice do you distinguish between an addict who is savable and an addict who is like a sociopath?
Well, you framed that strangely. So how do I tell that a patient is salvageable?
Right.
I have been amazed that patients I gave no hope to did great, and patients who I expected did well did poorly. So I stopped trying to predict, and the ones that do well give you, particularly when you don't have much hope for them, give you hope for everybody, because you're like, oh my God, that guy got better. They can all do it. If that guy can do it, they can all do it. And that's kind of how they build on themselves. Now, sociopath, personality disorders, people with substance abuse are functioning as though they have a personality disorder. And the common three are borderline, sociopath, and narcissist. So we don't know what we're going to get when they get off the drugs and stop using. And a certain percentage of them are sociopaths and are narcissists. And it's one of the rare circumstances where you see that stuff getting better in treatment because their life depends upon it. When their life really depends upon it, it will get better. It won't go away, but it will get better. And they'll start to see how it operates because their life literally depends upon it. If you're just dealing with somebody in a room alone, they're going to work you. That's the way it goes. But if somebody is in a group where he's being reflected back with his bullshit and he knows he's going to die if he doesn't get with it, that guy gets with it a bit.
I'm sure you've lost some patients. It's just a function of the disease and addiction.
It's a fatal illness. It's like being a cancer doctor.
Do the parents ever blame you?
I've never had that that I'm aware of.
Okay.
I don't know. I because they see how hard we work with them.
Okay.
But it's, to be fair, they may not understand, sort of how hard it is. They may have expectations. But it's a real. No one has ever asked me that. Interestingly,
Really? Because it seems like
I
it'd
will
be a
tell
lot
you.
easier to blame you. You know.
I will. I know. I will tell you when some of the people who treated in celebrity rehab died, particularly of opiate addiction, I was blamed for that, which to me was like, what? That my peers killed those people. It was back in the days of the overprescribing, and they actually killed the patient. He was doing great until he got into the medical system, and then boom, dead. And so
you worked with Jeff. What's his name from Greece? Conway. It seemed that he was just on the show for the paycheck or something like that.
No. We worked with him for a long time after that. I mean, he did some of that bullshit for sure. He did some weird stuff, but he ultimately, and in fact, oh my God, Jeff breaks my heart. Bob and I went and visited him many times. He got so, he was off everything, doing great, no pain. Went back to his pain doctors who said, why are you letting these people brainwash you? I told you need to be on these meds the rest of their life. Now they put him on so much pain meds, he had to be in a nursing home to be administered the amount of drugs they were giving him safely. He finally pulled out of that, and he called me, because he realized how ridiculous. He called me and he goes, I think I'm ready. I'm really ready to do this. I said, Jeff, you called. I'll bring it right now. You name the time. He goes, I'll let you know. Dead a week later. It's very sad.
Can you? I mean, I know you have a lot to say about this also, but the opiates and the overprescription. I mean, this was a plot point of the Golden Girls in the 80s. Betty White had an episode where she had to go cold turkey. I mean, it seems insane to me to what extent and how addictive they are.
So what happened, and everyone misses this chapter because I lived through it. I'm a time traveler, Michael. I'm here to tell you that I've experienced all this stuff. It's one of the great byproducts of having been a severe workaholic, and I'm having to make amends about that these days, is I saw everything. I experienced everything on the medical and psychiatric side. I was there and taking care of people and all this. The opiate thing, everyone wants to blame the pharmaceutical companies and that family that created OxyContin, whatever. Yes, they were duplicitous.
The Mercers, right? No, not the Mercers. Never mind.
No,
they were just removed from the Temple of Dender.
Yes, correct. At the Met.
Sackler family, not the
Mercers.
Family, the Mercers are Breitbart. Sorry, people.
Yes. Look up for me again. Playwright, physician, 1920s. I still want that name of who that was. It was not Mencken. It's before I go on my diatribe about pain medicines.
Chekhov?
No. He was Chekhov a doctor?
It says Chekhov was a physician by Somerset Maugham.
Somerset Maugham. That's what I was thinking of.
I didn't think of him as a playwright. He's a novelist.
I think of him as, didn't he write a play?
Yeah, but he's known for, what's that? He's got a novel. What's his? I'm looking up his novel right now. He was a playwright.
I must have read I think I read his play or something that impressed me. And so anyway, he had a deep understanding.
It turns out he was an F.
He was a what?
An F.
Oh, good for him.
That's great. Bully for you, Somerset.
Yeah, good. And by the way, I'm got to make a note to go on about the opiates because I have something to tell you about that. But did you see the Pee Wee Herman documentary?
Oh no, I'm going to watch that immediately.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good, but it really broke my heart because I knew Paul a little bit, and he was the sweetest, nicest, kindest dude. And the first time I met him, I thought he was like putting me on because it's so far from Pee Wee. He's just so kind and soft-spoken. And I was two things got me. One, I was surprised at what a brutal taskmaster he was. To get things a certain way, he knew what he was as an artist. He was like a maniac, and that surprised me because I didn't know that was in him. And then the fact that he was fully out, then had to go back in the closet, and his boyfriend died of AIDS. And and then he was able to come. It was all really heartbreaking. When I think about that generation of gay men and what they had to put up with, and I was there. I worked in AIDS a lot. I was doing a lot of AIDS. Do you know
what this is behind me?
I can't really see it. I just see the black outfit.
Look
pan
up
up. I can't.
Nomi.
Huh?
Look up Klaus Nomi on your computer.
You're gonna have to help me with the spelling on the Nomi.
Klaus, last name Nomi.
Yes, I get Klaus. Yeah.
Look him up.
How do you spell the last name?
Nomi.
No, there it is. Comes right up. Oh, yeah. German countertenor, noted for wide vocal range, good stage performance. What did he, was he a Wagnerian or something?
No, he was a new wave musician.
Oh, yeah. Okay. It looks like all that new wave stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Why? Why do you bring him up?
Well, that's his suit. And he was
really?
one of the first AIDS casualties, yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He gained interest in opera from listening to Maria Callas.
That was
He
very
did
big
sing
in
some
that
opera.
scene, yeah.
See
Warhol
how
would
you are?
play Maria Callas at 10 in his factory.
Anyway, that whole chapter was the darkest, saddest period, and there's nobody left to report about it except people like me who were there taking care of these poor guys.
Can I tell you something quickly about this? Marianne Williamson, who ran for president, she was teaching A Course in Miracles in the 80s in LA, and all her audience was predominantly gay men. They're just dropping like flies. And she was trying to figure out how to give them hope. And this is something that ports to every aspect of life, not just, that aspect. She told them, what if it's like diabetes? What if we get it to you have to take a shot every day, they cut off your foot, and you're going to go blind and die 20 years early? Is that too ridiculous to hope for? And when you put in those terms, like, okay, that's plausible. So when people ask for hope, it's like, you don't have to be a billionaire to be what if instead of being in the gutter, you got a studio apartment, your girlfriend's kind of a bitch, your dog shits on the floor, and you hate your job? Is that really hell on earth? And when you put in terms like that, it's like, wait a minute, I can see myself in that. And It's very easy to get to that level of hope.
In recovery, we call it being right-sized.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah, being right-sized. Be the right size. And that size can change with time, but you want to be right-sized and be it's authentic sized for you.
Yeah.
And living an authentic life has its own rewards. And I'll have to come back into a whole nother hour on authenticity, because you started me on the cognitive distortion side, but living authentically and with meaning is a massively important thing. Massive.
Where were you going with Pee-wee?
That it was so. I was talking about the sort of the opiate thing and the AIDS thing for me were very similar experiences, and I forget why I brought it up, but
you're saying it's not the Sackler's fault, it's not the
yeah. Well, let me see where it comes back, but that he had to. I thought of all the men I dealt with, and that had when people say things like okay, you win, it's good, gay is fine, everyone accepts it now, it's like. There's still men alive that had to live through a chapter. It's almost like if there were still slaves living or something. Right. There was a chapter that was really, really horrible, and they want you to remember that. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them for that.
Well,
and it wasn't just Stonewall. You know what I mean? It was
also
a lot
this
more.
Revisionism that the Democrats were supportive and the Republicans were the bad guys is a complete lie. There's a superb book called And the Band Played On, which talked about how the gay activists refused to take any steps to mitigate this disease. They called it anti-gay fascism. They refused to even have warning signs in the bathhouses. And any thing that's saying that in any way having gay sex is bad was something they fought tooth and nail. Ed Koch sat on his hands. But now if you look at history, it's like Republicans bad, Democrats good. It's a complete lie, and it helps no one.
It's still going on now. It's still going on now. It's very similar to COVID. And it's also very similar to how people are dealing with sexuality now. I need another hour with you. I just talked to some young men who were like, we are craving guidance on our sexuality. Yeah. We want containment. We want mores. Yes. We want to know what's right and what's wrong. And I was like, look, as a time traveler, I'm part of the problem. I went on the radio because I wanted people to understand the biology of sex and that this thing called AIDS was coming your way. And that everyone was ignoring that and just having unleashed sexuality through the sexual revolution. And I was like, you got to understand what's happening. And I didn't intend where we are now at all, where you're not allowed to say anything bad about sex. Sex addiction is out of control right now, out of control. And it's harming people. And so you have to be able to address the human reality of what's good and what's bad, what's healthy, what's not. You can do whatever the fuck you want. But to say you can't talk about certain things a certain way is denying reality. We're back in COVID again. And back to the opiates.
And that is the opiate thing. That is the rat hitting the lever. It's the guy in front of his computer watching porn for 6 or 8 hours.
Oh, I'm holding up my phone. This is a crack pipe for those people. There's a crack pipe in their hand at all times. So, and a lot of it is caused by being exposed to porn at a young age, which no one talks about that anymore either. So, Okay, exactly.
Opiates.
So the opiate thing, people are not aware. It happened because a group of professionals, pain specialists, decided they were a, quote, white hat profession. They were going to save the world from pain. There was no reason anybody should ever experience pain. They came out of a reasonable position. I don't know if you know, there's been 2 opiate epidemics in this country. One followed the Civil War. We had just invented the hypodermic needle. Morphine sulfate came in, methadone came in, heroin came in. We had a massive opiate crisis, all administered by physicians, which resulted in the Harrison Narcotic Act, which put, by some estimates, 20,000 physicians in jail.
Oh, wow.
And as a result of that, doctors were afraid for 60 years to prescribe opiates. There was something called opiophobia. And these pain doctors who were there going, we have all these pain medicines. You're letting patients are now living with cancer in pain, and we're letting them experience or die in pain. This is insane. And they were right. Then they looked around and went, hey, nobody ever should have pain ever, anywhere. We're going to eliminate pain everywhere. Pain is now, they got all the regulatory organizations and the professional societies to sign on to pain is the 5th vital sign. Do you remember that?
Right.
If I took somebody's pulse and I didn't take their pain scale, it was immediate action, immediate of all types. Now, before that all happened, several doctors were fined outside of their malpractice and or put in jail for inadequate treatment of pain. It was called patient abuse. So we all froze at that moment. We were all afraid to not prescribe enough and afraid not. So we sent it all to the pain medicine doctors. The pain medicine doctors took the position that pain is what the patient says it is, and pain control is what the patient says it is. And they went on to kill all of my patients because my patients are drug addicts. And they denied that addiction existed in the setting of pain because they would say this is the most insane statement of all time. The pain soaks up the euphoria of the opiates and they're no longer addictive. It was insane. And they killed God knows how many of my patients. So anyway, I lived through that battle. So I'm a time traveler, Michael, I'm here from another time, another era.
Folks, head over to malice.locals.com where Dr. Drew took questions from supporting listeners. Dr. Drew, we're running out of time. What has been your favorite part of this interview?
Spending time with you, my friend. I'm literally, I think you're a very special person, and you always have interesting, ways of looking at things and thinking about things. I learn something every time, and I just am privileged to know you and talk to you. And I think it's you always enlighten.
You are welcome.
This summer, Pluto TV is exploding with thousands of free movies. Summer of Cinema is here. Feel the explosive action all summer long with movies like Gladiator, Mission Impossible, Beverly Hills Cop, Good Burger, and Transformers: Dark of the Moon. Bring the action with you and stream for free from all your favorite devices. Pluto TV. Stream now. Pay never.